wonderful students at Students for Life of America, and I didn't know it, but back home my own father was fighting for his life. I had never heard from him all those months, and I wondered if he had ever gotten the letter, and if he had got the letter, if he read the letter, if he read the letter, he believed the letter, all of those things. My father ultimately passed away at the age of 51, right around the anniversary of Roe versus Wade. It's not a coincidence in my book. That message is pretty loud and clear. And so I didn't know it at the time because I was gone. And I typically would have read the newspaper, but I told my husband to just throw them away because I didn't have time to deal with it. And so I ended up Googling my father's name about a month and a half later. And my husband calls that stalking. I don't think so. Isn't Google a verb? I think it is. You Google things. Maybe it wasn't back then, but you know, I Googled his name from time to time because I wanted to know what was going on in his life. And so when a new hit came up from the local newspaper, I was really excited, thinking I was going to learn something new about his life. And when I opened it up, you can guess what it was. It was his obituary. So when I stand with folks like I did with Silent No More today, I do it not just for my mother, but I do it for my father. Because what I've learned now over time is that my father passed along from this world never having told a single soul about me. If there's one thing I can tell all of you young men in this room, it's that you deserve better. You deserve better than to live your lives the way that my father did. I can't imagine what it was like for him. And you know what, as much as I can look back on the past and regret maybe not finding him sooner, I really hope and pray that him receiving that letter months before he passed away gave him some peace. But it was very difficult losing my father because I felt like not only did I lose him, but I lost out on every opportunity I would ever have to get to know what his role was in ending my life. And so, again, I prayed about it, and I ended up sending a letter to one of his brothers whose name I got from the obituary. Once again, I think my husband thought I was crazy. He didn't tell me that, though. But I sent his brother a letter, and I said, you know, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm grieving along with you, and I apologize if you've never heard anything about me, but I wanted to let you know that a piece of your brother is alive and well in this world, and I hope it can give you some peace at this time. And just like I never heard back from my father, I never heard back from his brother. I'd kind of grown used to it. And what I didn't know is that as I went searching for them, they came searching for me. Because when they cleaned out my father's office after he passed away, guess what they found? They found the letter. It was tucked away in his top desk drawer. And his family truly believes that that was a sign that he believed it. And if any of you ever would see a picture of my father and I, there is no doubt, there is no question that I am his child. We are spitting images of one another. And so they were distraught. Absolutely no one, his wife, nobody ever knew anything about me. And so here they had just lost my father, and then they find out about this great secret that really has rocked them to the core. And they had no idea what to do about it. But they came looking for me a couple months later. And since that time that they came looking for me, I've been united with my great aunt. It's actually my dad's aunt, so it's my grandmother's youngest sister. We get together on a regular basis. She lives in the same city that I do. She celebrated my daughter's first and second birthdays with us. I've met my grandfather. I like to joke he shows up way too early on Saturday mornings at my house. He shows up at like 8 o'clock. I'm like, oh man. But I can't be angry with him because that's such a gift. And he's about 83 years old, and he tells the most wonderful stories because the first time he ever met Olivia and I was 30 and she was 6 weeks old. And he was busy telling the whole world that I was his granddaughter when the rest of his family was telling him to keep it shut. And I was a little fearful about that for a while, but you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. I will let my grandfather shout it from the rooftops that I am his granddaughter, because he says that after my father passed away, he felt like he had nothing to live for. And now that he had found out about Olivia and I, his life has meaning again. And so even though I can grieve the loss of my father, I know that his passing gave me the gift of his family and his family the gift of mine. I spoke to my grandmother on the phone, but I'll be real honest with all of you, she sounds pretty upset. And I know that she's not upset with me, she's upset about the situation. You know, I can't imagine what it's like for her to know that her child carried a secret for 50, almost 51 years of his life, and ultimately to his grave. And I know she carries a lot of shame about that, a lot of guilt. I've spoke to my father's wife by email. She actually lives there in the same city that I do. I even have a sister who is about 15 years old now that lives there in that same city also, but she knows absolutely nothing about me because there is that much shame in their family. And again, I know that my family's experience is not unique. We know that millions of families are haunted by abortion. There is so much secrecy and so much shame and so much regret. And so, I'm trying to do honor to my biological family by helping others learn that we don't have to be silenced by shame. It would break my heart if my grandmother ultimately passes on from this world before she ever gets a chance to meet her granddaughter and her great-granddaughter. But that's what shame does to people. It puts up walls and shuts people down. So that was back in 2008 that I started meeting people. And in April of 2008, I actually gave birth to Olivia at the very same hospital where my life was supposed to end. You can't make this stuff up. I didn't have to give birth to her there. There was another hospital where I could have given birth to her, but the Lord gave us an experience that opened my eyes and told me for sure that that's where I was supposed to. And I wouldn't change that for the world, because I actually used to drive past that hospital gripping the wheel of my car, so full of dread, knowing that my life was supposed to end there. And now I can hold my head high as I drive past that hospital because it holds the most beautiful memories of my life. And I know that every woman deserves that same opportunity. No woman should have to drive past a hospital or an abortion clinic full of fear and dread, knowing that that's where they took their child's life. They deserve to hold their head high, knowing that that's where they gave life. No matter what they choose to do with that life, if it's adoption or some other choice afterwards, but no woman should have to be full of that dread and that fear. And even though I forgave my parents a long time ago about their decision to end my life, I'll tell y'all that I got really angry after I had Olivia, because it was there holding her one night as a new infant in the dark of night that it hit me. And you'll see the blurb if anybody grabbed a business card of mine, or if you ever go to my website, there's a quote and it says, "One decision, one single moment can have such a detrimental impact on so many people, living and dead, born and yet to be conceived." And that's what hit me that night when I was rocking my daughter, that it wasn't just about me. The true reality was that my daughter's life would have been over before it ever began. And so that's part of my ministry, is not only giving a voice to those millions, tens of millions of aborted children and their mothers and fathers, but also to children like my Olivia. And so since that time, I've been really blessed in this ministry to share the message. I do it across North America. We'll be heading to Australia for a few weeks this fall to be hosted across Australia by wonderful pro-life people. And so we're going to keep spreading this message, because I believe that people need to hear this. If you ever wonder what the true face of abortion looks like, this is it. Think of my beautiful Olivia's face. That is what people need to hear. And this is the story that Planned Parenthood doesn't want you to know. And so that's going to be my urge to all of you tonight. Just like Janet was saying today about Silent No More, don't let it just sit on the hill, spread the message. I'm going to urge you all to share my message with other people. Let them know that aborted children can live, they should live. It shouldn't even be a question of whether they can live. They should live, period. And so I know this is my calling, and I'm so grateful for this, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't ever say, "Hey, Lord, I don't have anything better to do. Could I please